Hey everybody, I'm Sam Haymart and you're watching Test Driven TV. Today we are test driving the 2026 Chevrolet Traverse Z71, the more off-road oriented version of the various trim grades that you can get out there. So we're going to have a good look at it inside and out. We're going to take it for a drive. Then I'm going to tell you what I really think. All right, my good friends, let's talk about the vehicle that Chevrolet has given us today. This is the 2026 Chevrolet Traverse. This is a Z71 trim grade, which means it is the off-road themed one. As it sits in the trim grade ladder, this is one up from the LS, which is the base trim. That starts out about $42,000. This starts out around 50-ish, and with the options we have on this one, as tested, we're at $57,000 and some change, which sounds like a lot, but you can still spend quite a bit more here on the Traverse if you go to the High Country or the RS trim. Those start right around the $60K range before you start piling options on those. So this is really sort of in the mid-grade, I would tell you. But going with this trim grade gives you quite a few things. But first, let's talk about the Traverse itself. This is a full-size crossover SUV, which means that it's just below the Tahoe as far as the size and interior space and capabilities. 7-passenger seating. We'll talk about more of that when we get to the interior. But the design on this, let's look right up front. This got a pretty handsome mug, don't you think? It's pretty good looking. And Chevrolet has really done a lot to curate their design DNA across all of their vehicles. Anything you see on the lot's got the same look and feel. You know it's a Chevrolet. Here on the Z71, this has a unique front fascia with a skid plate element, red tow hooks. I think it looks pretty good. I really do like it. So you come around the corner, you'll notice this has a 1-inch higher ride height due to unique off-road suspension and damper tuning that goes with that. Unique 18-inch wheels, Goodyear, Wrangler, Territory, all-terrain tires. Now these are some pretty good tires. They're pretty spendy. If you've looked those online and tried to maybe buy some for yourself, they're not cheap tires. So they've given us a nice tire upgrade here. Now as we come down the side, you'll see that this has blacked out trim as well. That's around the window line, the mirrors, and also the emblems. As we come around to the rear three-quarter view, a couple things I want to point out. First of all, this does have standard roof racks up on the top. You can option factory racks that go across, or you can get many of the aftermarket options out there. But the big thing I want to point out is the rear window line here. This is sort of a floating roof design that's become fast part of the Chevrolet DNA across their SUV line. It's handsome, I think, especially in this iteration. It's got that sort of flying wing that pops up that's sort of a reverse tail like off of an airplane. In this trim grade, it has all blacked out trim, but that top piece would be chrome in some of the other trim grades. Looking at the rear taillights, LED, they have sort of a wraparound design element, you might call it. I have seen some controversy online. Some people think that looks like running mascara, similar to what Toyota's done on some of their vehicles. But here, to me, it just looks a little bit more graceful than that. And it has a sharp cut down into the bumper. The rear fascia back there, set up for towing a trailer. Trailer package does come standard on the Z71. Big exhaust tips. I like the fact that they've given us genuine exhaust tips that air actually blows through. Those aren't fake design elements like some of the competitors out there have gone to. And at this price, we do expect that this would have a power opening lift gate. It's expected at this price these days. So there you go. So stepping back, I think it's a pretty handsome vehicle. I think they've done a good job not only on the basic design, but the Z71 definitely adds a little bit of extra flair. When I first climbed behind the wheel of the Traverse, when they delivered it to me, the first thought I had was, wow, this is a high-end trim grade. And I hadn't done my investigation yet. And so I just immediately looked around. I saw the panoramic sunroof above me. I saw what I thought at the moment was leather seats, all of the color and the stitching and the accents and the equipment that's going on here. And it just feels like high end. Now, granted, at $57,000, this is what we should have. But the reality is that even if you are in a base model LS, you are not far from what you're looking at right here. In the Z71, we've got the red accent trim across the dash, and we've got some really nice accent stitching throughout. Red and black, white accent stitching on the steering wheel and on these seats. Now, these are not leather seats. My first impression of these seats leather seats, but they're not. They're actually Evotex, which is vinyl. A very nice, soft and supple vinyl. It looks and feels like leather. It just doesn't smell like it. But they're good looking seats with the two-tone stitching, the embroidering, and the headrests. The seat I have that I'm sitting on is a power seat. This is manual for the passenger, and they are heated as well. Now, as I sit here and look forward, a nice digital instrument cluster, about 11-12 inches. And to my right is a 17.7-inch infotainment screen. It is huge, absolutely massive. And it is becoming sort of a staple in a lot of the Chevrolet vehicles. A very common design, very common layout. The instrument cluster itself is infinitely customizable. There's several different looks, several different sets of information that you can choose from. The standard pieces of information are there, but you can really change up the look and get what you want on it. The steering wheel in this vehicle, because it does have the Super Cruise, has the big strip across the top, so it can monitor, well, what you're doing when you're using it, but it has nice stitching. It's a nice thick steering wheel, and it does have paddle shifters. Now, this infotainment system and the driver interface, this is actually pretty well done, I've got to tell you. I'm not necessarily a fan of super big and ever-growing screens, but this one replaces quite a few of the hard controls. The climate controls are lined up across the bottom, and while it takes a little bit of getting used to, they do work pretty well. They are intuitive, and the rest of the navigation on the screen, once you get used to how Chevrolet does it, it works pretty well. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, wireless. And so I use Apple CarPlay, and once I get behind the wheel, all of my infotainment purposes are met with an interface I'm already familiar with. If you use the standard radio or Bluetooth connection, or even the satellite radio, the Bose audio system that's behind this sounds quite well. What I will say about using this is that it does kind of get hot to the touch sometimes. If you put your hands on there, you really feel it. It's putting off the heat. What does work very well, though, is the 360-degree camera. When you back up, it shows the whole thing. It's got an alarm that tells you if something's coming. And when you put it back in drive, you get a forward view as well. And that's kind of nice for like right here behind this industrial center where I'm at filming right now. You can see all of what's going on around me, and so can I. Now, down below on the center stack are additional hard controls for some of the more used things, so you don't have to dig into that menu. And then there's a cubby down here with a wireless phone charger. Just behind it, cup holders. There's a little box right here with a shuttable door. And then down in here is a pretty nice deep well center console. It's about the size of a 6-pack of soda. I have to say soda because we're behind the wheel. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of storage, nice big pockets in the door panels. Now above me is the panoramic sunroof, which is an option in this. It has a flip open and sliding front section, and it does have a black opaque cover, so you can shut that out if the sun's just beating on you too hard. But I really like the extra added light and ambiance that it brings. The rear seat of the Traverse in this particular seating arrangement has 2 captain's chairs and then 3 across in the third row behind me. So this is a 7-seater. You can get this with 8-seat capacity with the bench seat here. So 3, 3, and 2, that's 8. Yeah, but this is 2, that's 3, which is 7. As you can see with these seats almost all the way forward, I've got pretty good room. These seats here are set for my height about 5'8", 5'9", depending on what my footwear is. I've got good knee room, and the seating height is good. These are fully adjustable, so you can slide these fore and aft, and the recline adjustment is also available. They do have fold-down armrests, so you can be comfortable if you'd like to have that. You can get those out of the way to allow access into that third row between them. And as you can see, actually using the lever to pull these forward and slide is pretty easy. One hand can pull that seat out of the way, give you full access to the third row. And as you can see, there's a pretty good amount of space back there. It really just isn't just for kids. Now, 3 adults back there might be a little bit tight, but the leg room for, say, 2 adults is acceptable. It's not like some of the third rows in these SUVs where it's for kids. The rear air, there is air back there. And when it comes to vents for the second row, there are no vents on the back of the console, but they do have vents up here on the ceiling, so you can aim that right for your face which is my favorite, especially on a hot day like here in Phoenix, Arizona. But there are HVAC controls on the back of this console, as well as an extra set of cup holders. Now, the third row does fold down. You pull the straps. They're not power in this particular trim grade, but it folds down for a pretty flat load floor back there. And you just pull the strap, they go right down, and you can pull those straps to pull them back up again. When it's up, there's still a pretty good amount of cargo space back there. And looking around on the Chevrolet website, I saw that they offer a lot of different organizational options at the dealership. Underneath that floor, you'll find a big storage tub, which is great for muddy gear, boots, things like that if you're camping. Underneath that, you will find a temporary spare tire, which is always good with an SUV, especially one like this that is marketing itself for off-road use. All right, my good friends, let's take this baby for a drive. Now, I'm out here in the dirt just a little bit because we do have the Z71 off-road trim grade, although not really going to be doing a lot of off-roading. It's mainly just because it's a great place to come and not be bugged when I'm trying to take pictures of a vehicle and tell you all about it. But we are out here in the middle of nowhere, out on one of my favorite back roads, so it does give us a good opportunity to take this vehicle for a drive and talk about what it has to offer. Now, as we mentioned, the Z71, this has a lot of hardware that sets it apart from the other trim grades. It's got a 1-inch higher ride height, it's got off-road 2 dampers, and it's got the better tires and wheels for being in the dirt. This also has an all-wheel drive system standard. That's what they call the advanced all-wheel drive, with a twin clutch system that essentially enables you to have a little bit more of hardware control over the traction, particularly at the back axle. And you do have expanded drive modes for off-road conditions: slippery, sun, rock, whatever, slippery sun, slippery, mud, snow, rocks, whatever, all of that stuff. There's a drive mode that's going to fit well for that. But even though this does have an off-road tuned suspension, off-road tires, I have found in my week with it that it is very competent on the pavement, both on a back road at speed, around town, and it feels solid in my neighborhood over potholes, manhole covers, speed humps. It feels solid. It doesn't feel like a crossover that's been butched up and still really more of a car underneath all of it. It's pretty heavy duty, and you can throw it into a corner at a pretty good clip and not worrying about the thing feeling all sort of mushy and not confident. And that goes to trailer towing. This has a pretty good trailer tow rating for its class, and it does come standard with the trailer tow package, as I said. Even with this big window, it's pretty quiet out here on this noisy pavement. Little or no wind noise I've discovered in my time with it. And so it's a good handling vehicle. It's just a comfortable place to be out on the highway, either at speed or just around town. And this does have the Super Cruise, which enables hands-free driving. And that Super Cruise, I might add, is an option. It is optioned on this one, so it's not something you have to have standard. Now let's talk about what's under the hood, because this is getting to be sort of a popular format for a lot of the manufacturers. No more V6 as of old. This now has a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder turbo. It has 328 horsepower, 326 pound-feet of torque. Those are actually pretty healthy numbers for a 4-cylinder, let alone a V6. It has standard all-wheel drive, the twin clutch system, as we talked about, and it comes with an 8-speed automatic transmission. And so if you watch my videos, you know one of the questions I always like to ask is, how does it go? So we're going to come to a complete stop. We are out in the middle of nowhere on a deserted desert highway like the Eagles used to talk about. And here we go. A little bit of tire spin there, actually. It comes on good. And 60. A little bit of torque steer, trying to pull me around a little bit. This does default to front wheel drive unless all wheel drive is really needed. So it's going to feel like a front wheel drive vehicle under power for sure. So my takeaway there is that the power is adequate. It's still a heavy vehicle. This weighs close to 4,800 pounds as tested. So this engine's still working pretty hard, and you could hear that. That is one of the things about this being a 4-cylinder engine. It doesn't have the inherent quiet smoothness that a V6 is known for. It is a 4-cylinder. It sounds like one. It feels like one. The good news is the power curve's there. The torque is there. And this transmission does a really good job of delivering downshifts and pretty good power out here. We're exceeding the speed limit quite handily, quite quickly. So power is not an issue. It's just, are you fine with the 4-cylinder graininess, feel, and sound that these have? Now, fuel economy. This is rated at 19 city, 24 highway, and 21 mpg combined. So in spite of the fact that we've gone with this 4-cylinder engine, is the fuel economy better? I don't know. I think the jury's out, cattle guard, on whether these small 4-cylinders really give us better fuel economy. I think they help the manufacturers, you know, comply with smog requirements and all of that a little bit easier. But when it comes to actual fuel economy, I don't know that we really see a benefit there, because with a 4-cylinder engine, when you really lean on the power pedal, they really use the gas, because the boost comes on and it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't mean that in terms of the refinement. This is a nice, smooth, linear power plant, but when it comes to fuel economy, they go from being quite efficient to quite thirsty very fast when you really start using the power. And worth noting, when you load these vehicles down, maybe you're towing, don't expect to be getting that posted fuel economy. But as a powertrain overall, just driving it around town, using it as an everyday soccer mom mobile, I hate to use that term, but a family car, let's say it like that. That sounds more palatable. As a daily driver, this is a very nice powertrain, as long as you don't really just push it too hard. It's not going to yell and scream at you. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tolerating the fact that I've got a pretty good cold today and my voice is messy. It's a messy voice all throughout our video. But let's talk about the recap on our vehicle that we've tested. We've had a good look at it inside and out, taken it for a drive, and we've talked about some of the things I like, some of the things I think could be better. For the prices tested, $57,000. This is not the top of the trim grade ladder. It's not the bottom. We're sort of just right in the middle with everything that we've got here. Starting out at about $42,000, the Traverse LS, going all the way up to the top, you can spend well over $60,000 here. So we are sort of right in the middle, and this is a well-optioned Z71. You can get the Z71 trim grade down lower than where we're at right here. As it sits, I think this is pretty well equipped for the money if you compare it to any of the options out there in the competitive land. The one big difference that some of the competitors will offer, not all, is a smoother V6 powertrain. We talked about that out on the drive. There are competitors, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai, Kia. They're offering V6s. Even the Ford Explorer has an optional V6 that you can go to if you want that. It's not that we don't have enough power here. It's just that this does have the 4-cylinder feel and sound that at this price, some people might find that objectionable. So just something to keep in mind. Test drive it, see what you think. It does have plenty of power. It's got good manners, handling off-road, all of this. It's been quite good. I'm very impressed. So that is our test drive for the Chevrolet Traverse 2026. If you like what we do, you can see our latest video right there. Better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there. Either way, stay tuned.